Quite a few years ago, there was a woman obsessed with making dresses out of Dalmatian dogs. That woman gave us excellent movies, but before being evil, was a good person called Estella. That's why today on the Summarizer, Cruella.
What was your name? Cruella.
This is the story of Estella, a rather problematic girl who spent her time designing her own clothes, beating the crap out of the school bullies, and hanging around with her only friend and her cute little dog. But one day, the principal got tired of her screwing up so much and expelled her from school.
You're out. Out!
So now they decide to move to London, but first her mother has to ask an old friend for help. At the castle, there is like a fashion show, and before entering, her mother gives Estella a family necklace to take care of, and tells her to stay waiting in the car, but obviously she ignores her and infiltrates in the middle of the show. The girl is fascinated, but a bald guy discovers her and throws her out of the place. But in the middle of the scene, the Dalmatians of the owner of the castle appear and start chasing her. Luckily, the dogs don't eat the girl, but start running to where her mother was asking for help to a woman. At that moment, Estella thinks her mother died because of her fault, accidentally drops her necklace, and escapes in a truck to London. There, she meets two little delinquents called Jasper and Horace, and their dog Wink, who will accompany her in all their adventures.
What's the dog?
Oh, you little scallywags!
10 years later, Estella designs the costumes. Some of the rest, I guess, train the dogs very well, and they steal things all over London. But Estella wanted to do bigger things, and no, she wasn't talking about robbing a bank, she was talking about being a clothing designer for the biggest brand in London. So for her birthday, Jasper gets her a job offer for Liberty.
How did you do this?
Yeah, no, pulled a couple of strings.
I got you! You thought I didn't see you now.
The job is actually cleaning, but Estella keeps recommending design stuff to her boss, even though he doesn't give her a chance. Until one day, after a couple of screw-ups, the boss tells her to stay all night cleaning his office, but Estella takes the opportunity to do what she likes best, drink a bottle of whiskey and design clothes.
You keep saying you got something for me.
She falls asleep, and the next day her boss finds her, but just as he's about to fire her, the Baroness, who is kind of the owner of the place, arrives.
What? The Baroness?
She's coming! No!
The Baroness loved the window display, so she hires her. So now Estella starts doing what she loves to do best, minus the whiskey drinking part. She becomes her boss's favorite. She's the one who prepares her food the best, her designs are the best, and she treats her quite well compared to how she treats the rest of her employees.
Well, you're fired. That's marvellous. Oh, I could do that all day.
But one day she realizes that the Baroness has her mother's necklace. She tells her that it was a family heirloom and that an employee once stole it. So now Estella meets her friends and tells them, "This Baroness stole my mother's necklace. Besides, I'm starting to hate her a little bit. Let's steal it, even though I might lose the job I always dreamed of." So Estella, her two friends, and her two dogs begin to devise the plan.
All we need to do is disable the security system.
Bypass the cameras, open the safe, steal the necklace.
But to do all this, they need to create a distraction. So while Jasper is in charge of the security cameras, and Horace is infiltrating as if he were a past exterminator, Cruella appears. After this, they want to throw her out, but she fights back, steals a key from a guard, and Horace opens the safe. Cruella stays talking to the Baroness for a while, and by that time the guards have already captured Horace. But Jasper spices up a dish with a couple of rats, and the party is a disaster. Cruella takes the opportunity to steal the necklace and give it to her dog, but at that moment she realizes what really happened that night. There's no time for memories though, because they have to escape from the party. The next day, Cruella wants revenge for the death of her mother, so she goes to find a photographer who was her friend at the beginning, a guy named Artie who sells used clothes, and the other two are in charge of kidnapping the Dalmatians to recover the necklace. And while Estella continues to work for the Baroness, Cruella keeps making appearances in dresses much better than those of her boss.
You keep saying you got something for me.
In the meantime, Estella made a dress with some strange stones that everyone loved, but later she sent her friends to pretend they were trying to steal it, so the Baroness kept all the dresses from the show in a safe. But Cruella starts to change and making jokes, which for those of us who saw 101 Dalmatians are not really funny.
They really would make fabulous coats.
The dogs? And she's a homicidal maniac and you're not.
We don't know that yet. I'm still young.
It's funny.
Then the night of the fashion show arrives, and the Baroness tells the bald guy that when Estella arrives, they should put her in his office. But there's no time for this, because now the safe doesn't open and they can't take out the dresses for the show. And it takes a lot of time to open it, but when they do, the stones were actually moth eggs, all the dresses were destroyed, and I guess now she realized that Estella is actually Cruella. And on top of that, in the park across the street, she staged her own fashion show. Then the police arrive and everyone escapes, but when Cruella returns, her friends were kidnapped by the Baroness, who now says she's going to kill her. Cruella tells her that she killed her mother, but that doesn't matter to her because she sets the whole place on fire, runs off with her dogs, and the two friends end up in jail. Someone seems to grab something with a napkin, and Cruella dies. But Cruella's not dead. Quite the opposite, she's alive.
He's alive!
Yes, she was saved by the bald guy of the beginning, who was working for the Baroness.
Why am I alive?
Because I dragged you out of the smoke and flames before they consumed you.
There he gives her the necklace he found in the fire and shows her that it has a key inside, a key to open a box which has a birth certificate.
The Baroness has a kid.
You.
Life sure is full of surprises.
Apparently, the Baroness never wanted to have a child, and when she was born, she ordered the bald guy to get rid of the baby, and as he's a good guy, he gave the baby to the woman who worked in the castle. So now, all the Baron's inheritance belongs to Cruella, and she goes to get her friends out of jail. She drives a garbage truck into the police station and leaves Wink to give them something to open the lock. Finally, they all escape and she picks them up, but they don't want to get in until she tells them that the Baroness is her mother.
You just blew my mind.
It does explain a lot.
So she explains everything we already know and asks for their forgiveness, tells them they are her family, and they all get to work on a new plan to destroy the Baroness. The bald guy steals a list of clients, and the rest start delivering clothes on behalf of her boss's company. Horace and Jasper have everything ready, and now there's only one thing missing.
A devil!
It's de Vil, mate. De Vil.
I like that.
Oh, that's why they call it that.
The night arrives and they all wait for Cruella to appear, but they realize that they are all dressed in tribute to her, with the clothes and wig that were sent to them in the boxes, and Cruella is already inside calling the police and denouncing that there's going to be a robbery that same night. The Baroness enters and realizes that they are all disguised as Cruella. On top of that, the rest of the team lock the guards in, and Cruella steals her dog whistle. She then dresses up as Estella and calls the dogs in the same place where her mother died. The Baroness comes out and releases them to attack her, but if Estella could train 2 dogs to steal, she has no problem making them sit.
Hello, Mother.
Her mother tells her that trying to murder her was a mistake, and as all the guests go out into the yard, she asks if she can hug her.
Idiot.
And Estella dies again, but this time, she's not dead either. Quite the opposite, she's alive again. Actually, she survived because she had a parachute hidden in her dress. Before she died, Estella gave her fortune to a friend named Cruella de Vil, that is actually her new name.
It's spelled devil, but it's pronounced DeVille.
And now the castle belongs to Cruella and her friends.
Genghis put on a bit of weight.
Washed his hands.
So that was a summary of Cruella. Comment which series or movie you'd like me to summarize for future videos. See you later.
Okay.
Bye.